It is none other than socio-political commentator and businessman Calvin Cheng. And his current post, string of posts talking about calling for a boycott of businesses that only accept cash. And with posts like another backward food court in the CBD that only accepts cash. Name and shame. So he's gone down the path of like naming and shaming entities that don't accept digital payments. And I mean it's interesting. Got people on both ends. I think some people are saying there might be good reasons. So don't just shit on them that fast. But why were you so fervent in your desire to talk about this?
I mean, the truth is that Singapore is going towards being a cashless society, right? Whether I think there's a news recently that the kopitiam, those cards, discount cards that people used to use in the food court, kopitiam food court, they're going to transition to all digital versions only, right? So it's happening. It's happening around us. And I think in this case, Calvin Cheng, he's an entrepreneur. He's a businessman who has his fingers in a lot of different pies, right? He sees that there's a lot more potential for digital payments and everything in Singapore. And he's angry, right? That some places refuse to move forward with the times. And is that really a wrong thing for him to be so angry about it, that he's taking quite an extreme view of saying naming and shaming them? I think that's what's interesting to me.
I mean, I guess the naming and shaming, that one, it feels like really must go down that path. But I mean, if he is super keen about having digital only payments, also must note the context that he has a Web3 company that's based out of Switzerland, I think, that recently just got approval from the financial authorities there.
Yeah.
And he seems like quite a savvy businessman, even though hard to tell his past exactly what he did and how successful it was. But yeah, so I think the naming and shaming, that one feels a bit weird. And he continues to defend his naming and shaming.
Yeah. So he defends it in the context of, I think if you look at because he's very active, right, in his own comments as well. I think he was specifically saying like it's hindering the progress of Singapore towards being a smart nation, right?
Yeah.
And that's why he thinks it's really terrible. I think he also clarifies that it's not the entire food court. It's just some vendors within the food court, right?
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what do you think? Like for me, the naming and shaming is like, I mean, on one hand, it's public info, you can see the signs are not even hidden, right? But I still feel like, okay, you there might be reasons, there might be reasons why certain stalls or hawker centers don't want to accept cashless payments. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think maybe the only thing that it's kind of strange to me is like, what's the point of naming and shaming or them or what, right? If anything, it might actually bring more customers to these places, out of a defiance to his call to name and shame. Because I mean, he is just someone who is very very bullish about digital payments and wants to move forward with it. And there'll be businesses who will take time to transition there or get there one day. Maybe the older people who don't like or don't know how to use their phones and all. But it's not that we name and shame them. We have to, what we need to do, and I think we're not doing enough, is to really educate them and convince them of the possibilities and protect them from the downsides of it as well, right? You look at all the scams that are going on now. A lot of the scams, I mean, these scams that are affecting our older people, especially in Singapore, are getting increasingly sophisticated and adaptable to the different things that go on in Singapore with our digital services. And I think it's because we are so, we are quite advanced in terms of our digital services and everything. That's why we are such a great target, because there's an imbalance between, the fact that we have an aging population and who's still trying to catch up with the digital age. And then at the same time, all our government services, all our banking services, all our digital, all our key services are actually all digital now, right? Whether it's your birth certificate, death certificate, your signing up for various government policies and all these things, your insurance, everything's all digital. So that gap in knowledge is being exploited a lot by these big scamming organizations. And it's so fast, they're evolving so fast. Every one day, like now I start getting SMSs from like so-called LTA telling me that I need to apply for this and that. And I mean, for me, I know it's a scam from first looking at it and all, but I can imagine, people who are not so digitally literate be having a hard time discerning what is real and what is not. And that tells you that there is going to be this gap going forward. And to expect everyone to just catch up, and then if they don't catch up with us, we name and shame them. That's not the approach. That's not the approach that's going to convince them to jump on board, right?
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, in fact, it's a whole separate argument, but I think this digitalization, this Smart Nation movement, has actually created a lot more work for, people who have to help their parents apply for digital services, have to walk them through all these things. And has it really made it such a more efficient process for everyone? It just shifts the burden of all these applications back to the younger people who know how to do it, right?
Yeah.
I think the resources to help people who are in trouble are not good enough. All these chatbots and AI that they try and use to help people who are having trouble with their website and all. Because I recently had my own run-ins with like one of the digital government services, and it was just a pretty horrible experience, even just down to the user interface on the website. And stuff just not working, literally fields that I was trying to fill out, not working. And this is me trying to apply for something that will allow me to pay the government more easily, And I was having so much trouble with it, even being what I consider myself a bit more of a digital native than a boomer and everything. I was having so much trouble with it, that it literally took me like, I think 3 or 4 calls with the agency to resolve it, and 3 or 4 calls over the course of like 2 weeks or something like that. So it was not like it was resolved overnight, right? And I'm trying to imagine like older people trying to deal with this issue, and it took me like some I had to do like my own like what do you call it? What's that term where you do a little bit of A/B testing, yourself, to try and figure out what's the issue. Is it this? I'm trying to isolate the problem, right?
Debugging.
Debugging. Is it this issue? Okay, let me try this scenario where I don't fill up this form with this way, and blah, blah, blah. So I was doing these scenarios like at 12:30 a.m., like trying to fix the issue because I wanted to find a way to be able to make my payments more efficiently. So it's just, I think it's just this attitude, right? That you name and shame those who haven't caught up, as opposed to think about how we can make the environment better for them to catch up, right?
And I mean the terminology he uses, like it's shameful that I mean, this is just his Facebook post. Singapore is still one of the few backward developed countries where with regards to digital payments, and he says it's shameful to accept only cash in 2023. Embarrassing for an advanced nation. They should not be allowed to operate in the CBD, especially. So, I mean, I was just thinking about it, like, because over the weekend, I bought chicken rice from this place in Katong that is some dope chicken rice. And I used to be able to order from them online, but now they don't take orders through any of the apps. They don't take orders from their website, and you go there and it's a long-ass queue. And they are very clear, cash only. And then I was thinking, like, oh, shit, cannot deliver, but the line never stops. So for them, right, as a business owner, whatever digital platform you choose to get payments through, you will have to pay transaction fees, right? If you have non-stop demand for your chicken rice, making thousands of dollars in revenue a day, 2%, it kind of adds up. So why would you want to pay that expense if your business is thriving already? Right? Are they shameful? I'm like, hell no. They run their chicken rice stall like clockwork, no. Like there's a payment booth, there's a LCD screen with a number. So when he says shameful, right, I feel it casts an entire blanket on all these hawkers, and maybe for their own reason, like they want to simplify stuff. They prefer cash. Maybe in their day-to-day life they need cash on hand. So you call them shameful? I'm like, yo man, no lah. Like you want to post their thing, go and talk to them first, find out what their reason is, then you post their reasons together with this photo.
Yeah,
Then people
yeah.
can make up their own minds lah.